What's going on, everyone? It's your boy Rice. I just want to break the fourth wall here before this race begins. Unfortunately, when I recorded the race, I forgot that my controller microphone was on. I hate that feature. I hate yet you can't permanently turn it off, or if there is a way, please let me know. But I forgot to turn it on, or turned it off, excuse me, when I recorded, so you will possibly hear me here and there, so I just want to apologize for that. Good day, race fans, and welcome to Belgium for the second race of this Rice's World Cup Series. We are here at Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps, where I know I probably butchered that and I apologize, but anyway, shaping up to be another great day of racing, as again we are lucky to have good weather. And because of that, we're going to have some good racing. That's usually how it goes. I just want to thank everyone for tuning in for the first race. Y'all absolutely seem to enjoy it very much. A lot of good racing that day back in Watkins Glen, and we're probably going to make a lot of references to Watkins Glen today as we continue to watch all these new drivers continue to prove themselves and to battle it out for position, for points, to become champion in this series. Excuse me. So, with all that being said, once again, kick back, relax, get some snacks, get ready to root on for your favorite driver, your favorite team, and hopefully we have some good racing today. And yeah, I'm looking forward to commentate today as well, as I get into the run of things, I guess you can say. Starting off the grid this time, we have P. Bowers, a very familiar face already, followed by Rice in P2, Isidro in P3, Dumont in P4, Mystics closing out the top 5 as Dumont drifts into turn 1. I don't know if he thinks he's in Tokyo Drift, but that was definitely an interesting way to enter turn 1 as the rest of the field goes by. McGowan and Camacho will close out the field in P19 and P20. As they come down the straight, excuse me by the way, for some reason my throat's a little dry, so I apologize if I clear my throat a couple times. Camacho fighting McGowan for P19 as they go up the S, but he will lose it. He will fall back into P20. Going back to the front, we have P. Bowers overshooting the chicane very drastically. Rice squeezes by, takes P1 from P. Bowers. P. Bowers making a very similar mistake to Besnard back in Watkins Glen. However, he does get away a lot more, luckily, as he gets back into P1, apparently. We have a battle for P10 going on. Kudos takes it from Violet Dragon, who is now in P10. Kudos Khalid in P9. That was a interesting battle. Rice takes pole again from P. Bowers, so there's a battle going on up front. But we'll get plenty of that later. Let's see the rest of our fleet as they race by here in the lower half of the track. Camacho still in P20, but looking to close the gap and fight McGowan for P19 again. Hopefully he will be able to. Making our way back up the field, Project G having a little bit of trouble early on in this race. In practice and qualifying, he was not very fast, but hopefully Porsche can get that car figured out, because I feel like he can be a very promising driver throughout this season. Going back to the front, Rice still in P1, followed by P. Bowers, excuse me. These two guys are just going at each other's throats so far this season. Isidro in P3, Mystics now up in P4, Dumont securing the top 5 now. But Dabrowski knocking on his door in 6th position. There was a little bit of contact there. I'm not sure if it was between them or the two cars behind them. But battle for P5 now going on. Besnard looking a lot better than Watkins Glen. Battle for P10 between Wyatt's Garage and Violet Dragon. Wyatt's Garage performing a lot better, it seems, today. In practice he was doing very well, so hopefully he finishes a lot better today than he did at Watkins Glen. Looking back down the field, battles on top of battles as Camacho overshoots turn 1. He will lose a great deal of speed there as the cars in front of him start to pull away now, but he is in P18 as Fairley and Haley are now in the pits pretty early on. Rice getting a little bit of a gap between him and second place. Second place being Isidro, now coming under fire by Mystics, who again has another driver who's been very solid so far, very early on in this season. Bowers now in P4. Dumont still holding on to that P5 position, top 5 position. Following him, we have Dabrowski, then Besnard, Kudos Khalid, Davi, Wyatt's Garage still closing out the top 10. Violet Dragon behind him, Lee, G's Doc. I actually did forget to mention that. I'm glad I saw that. There is a driver change for Ferrari. The driver now is G's Doc 671. He is now driving for Ferrari. We'll see how that change impacts the team as the season progresses. Again, coming back to the lower half of the track as we see the entire field zoom past here. Davi now coming under fire by Wyatt's Garage. Violet Dragon still behind. There goes G-Doc, Vakonin, Saez, Project G, McGowan, and Camacho. McGowan trying to catch up to his best friend there. Fairly now rejoining the track with tons of ground to make up after that pit stop. Followed behind her is Haley in the Honda, who Honda has not had a lot to say so far. I mean, it is only the second race, but they have been getting a lot of criticism with their low performance, but Honda has not announced anything yet. I'm not sure if they're working to tweak anything or if they will announce anything, but so far Honda has very clearly been at the bottom of the barrel here. Rice with the fastest lap so far with a 2:20 as he still leads in pole position. Bowers trying very desperately to catch up to him. Those two, as I mentioned earlier, have just been returning fists to each other so far. Just seeing how their battle went at Walkingsville, there's definitely a rival forming there, very much so. As the rest of the field now coming through turn 1, Camacho overshooting turn 1 again as Isidro and Mystics are now taking their turn in the pits, fairly getting a little bit of time to catch up with the back of the field a little bit. There's Haley going through the final chicane. Rice still in P1 holding it down. We'll see how long he'll be able to as Bowers is ever so slightly getting closer. Battle for P1 will definitely be happening here soon in the next couple corners as a battle for P3 and 4 happen between Dabrowski and Dumont. Besnard trying to get into the fight. Kudos trying to get into the fight as well, kind of looking from a little bit back, but Kudos so far has been a very solid driver with his P4 finish. Contact between Davi and Wyatt's Garage as they fight for P7 to P8. Violet Dragon looking to walk into the door and possibly steal the position from the both of them. 3-car battle here going down the straight. Davi and the Nissan barely pulling away. Wyatt Garage will get the inside line though, and he will overtake. He secures the 7th position from Davi and the Nissan. Wyatt's Garage doing leaps and bounds better at Walkingsville. Hopefully, as I mentioned earlier, hopefully his finish will reflect that. As we've seen, Chevy has not had the best strategies so far, as seen as at Walkingsville, just pitting at the worst times. Fairly with a couple positions up over Mystics and Isidro and Haley. However, Mystics and Isidro not letting her get away that easily as they are very quickly catching up to her, and we will see a battle for sure here in the next couple of turns. Haley all alone, however, and P20. Bowers takes first place over Rice, but they go both in the pits. And Bowers hits the wall going into the pits. We're going to see how that affects him. He's definitely going to have to stay in the pits longer now to repair those damages. I wonder what happened there, trying to overtake going into the pits. That's a first, but basically the entire front half of the fleet go into the pits, so Dumont will basically be handed first place very easily. Davi, Violet Dragon, and G's Docs will stay out though, so they will they will make up your top 5 with Vakonin closing out P5. There's Rice, Dabrowski, Bowers, basically all your top runners essentially this season so far in the pits, which is wild. Wyatt's Garage and Lee also going into the pits, so Fairly, Mystics, and Isidro will get a lot more free positions here if they come down the straight fast enough, and they will. There you go. Fairly now in 9th place. Mystics, however, will steal that. He will take 9th place from Fairly, and Fairly will lose control. She goes over the bump there going into turn 1. She will spin out right in front of the pit exit. That's definitely going to hold up a lot of people. Unfortunate outcome for Fairley. Thankfully, she didn't hit the wall, but she definitely will lose a bunch of position as she is now down to P16 with Haley and Wyatt's Garage coming out of the pits, steaming right for her. So high chance that she may lose more position, which is very unfortunate. Wyatt's Garage back at the bottom behind Haley, but right on her tail, so hopefully he can work his way back up, because as I said, he's been performing a lot better, it seems, today than he did at Watkins Glen, so I'm really hoping he gets a better finish, because he definitely deserves it. Camacho closing out the field in P20, which is very shocking. D. Dumont still in first place with a pretty decent gap. Davi and G's Doc, though, are rocketing right towards him, though, as they battle for second and third place. Behind G's Doc, we got Violet Dragon in fourth place, followed by Vakonin in fifth, Project G in sixth, and Saya's seventh. McGowan trying to catch up to his buddy in eighth. Excuse me, more burps. I don't know why I get so burpy when I'm recording. It's very unfortunate. I apologize. Mystics and Isidro closing out the top 10 now as they pull away from the second half of the field. Second half of the field including Besnard in 11th position, Bowers in 12th, Rice in 13th after their pit stops, and there they go, fighting just like at Watkins Glen. Those two, like I said, I'm very confident there's definitely going to be a rivalry there between Lamborghini and Toyota, as they have just been non-stop duking it out just in 2 races, and we still have 8 races this season, so they are definitely going to be very interesting to watch. Dabrowski in 14th place, Kudos in 15th place. This is, I believe, the lowest he's been so far in this early season, but again, it's still early, so a lot of stuff can happen. Wyatt's Garage with a actually, yes, he did get 1 position up over Haley. He's now in 17th. Dumont pitting now. That whole half of the field basically now pitting. So we're going to get a bunch of position changes here. And speak of the devil, there goes Mystics now into P1, passing up everyone in the pits. Cedro will get P2, Besnard P3, which is his highest position so far. So very, very nice to see for Besnard. Rice back up into the top 5 of P4. Dabrowski closing out the top 5 in P5. There go some of the cars coming out of the pits. We got Dumont in P8 now. Wyatt's Garage now in the top 10 in P9, followed by Davi in P10 as they come flying down the straight. Just listen to the sound of those engines. So we get the entire field coming by. I'm trying to stay quiet that way. You can hear some of it. Violet Dragon in P19, Fairley in the pits, now closing out the field in P20. Unfortunately, I guess today is just not her race. Going back to the top of the field, we have Mystics, Isidro, Besnard, Rice, and Dabrowski. Again, your top 5. Besnard doing significantly better than his debut race in Watkins Glen, where he had that unfortunate overshoot and crashing the rear end into the safety barrier. Position change, Rice falling back out of the top 5. Not sure what happened there. Didn't catch it on camera. Not sure how he got passed twice. If I had to guess, maybe he lost control or something. But now Kudos looking to steal that 6th place position as he is just barreling towards Rice. But going back down the field, looking at the rest of your top 10 with Davi still holding that 10th place position. But G's Doc looking to close that gap and fight him for that 10th place finish, because you do not get any points if you are outside of the top 10 unless you get the fastest lap, which currently G's Doc does have the fastest lap. So even if he does finish outside the top 10, he will at least get 1 point for having that fastest lap. Would you looky there, Vakonin and McGowan, the 2 best friends from Watkins Glen, are now battling each other for position for 15th and 16th place. I swear those guys are irreceptible, and it is hilarious to watch. Fairly trying to catch up with the rest of the field in P20, but she is very far behind. As we go to the back, to the front, Mystics still in first place. Isidro going into the pits, which is very weird because I feel like we just saw him in the pits. I'm not sure if that Mercedes is having fuel consumption issues, but it should not be pitting that often, I don't think. But either way, Besnard knocking on the door of Mystic as he tries to battle for first position. Rice back in the top 3. as Kudos in P4 is not too far behind. Dumont closing out your top 5. Still, I feel like Dumont is consistently in P5, but I mean, hey, P5 gets you points. A lot of points, actually, as the rest of the field goes by there. McGowan and Saez overshooting turn 1. I'm not sure why everyone is overshooting that turn, but you do carry a lot of speed down the front straight, so I mean, if you miss your braking point by even a little bit, I guess I can understand how you can easily overshoot that corner. Violet Dragon in P13 asking Saez to move over for P12. She's basically riding his bumper. Vakonin and McGowan finally get split up by Project G, who is now in top 10 in the Porsche. The Porsche did not perform too well at Waukesha Lane, but seems to be performing much better here, as there's a little bit of contact between Vakonin and Project G, but Vakonin returns the favor and takes back P9, but Project G takes the inside and takes P9 back. So a lot of battling going on there for the lower 10th position. As a few cars here seem to be battling. Violet looking to go on the outside, which is rare, but it does not work. The inside just has the better line, and he gets in front to secure P12 again, but Violet is not giving up, as she is hard charging after that Renault race car. As you see this train pass there, we're going to make our way lower down the field. Bowers in P14, not sure how he got there. I wonder if he pitted. Probably. Isidro back in the field in P15, Dabrowski 16, G's Doc in 17. Fairly making some position in P18, followed very closely by Lee in P19. And Haley in the NSX is back in P20, closing out the field. Again, Honda hasn't stated anything, but I am very curious what is going on with them, because I feel like that car should be performing a lot better. Both of your top drivers, Mystics and Besnard, go into the pits. Will Rice follow? Yes, he will. So it looks like it's going to be a repeat of the entire upper half of the field. I stand corrected. Kudos Khalid is staying out this lap by, so that means that he will get handed the first position as he passes the rest of the top 5, essentially. As everyone else is going into the pits, Dumont appears to stay out. Yes, he does. He gets P2. Davi stays out as well. He will get P3. Project G, Vakonin, Saez, the rest of them will stay out this time around, so they will all get position changes. Kudos really trying to drive away, though, from Dumont as he comes down the straight, followed by Davi, but I do not blame him. Get as much space as you can, because if there's one thing that I've learned is that if they've stayed out this lap, they are more than likely going to pit the next lap, so they definitely need as much space as they can get. Project G, Vakonin, Saez coming up the S. Vakonin in 5th place. He will close out your top 5 as the rest of the top 10 race by. Rice back out in the field in P9. Bowers closes out the top 10 in P10, followed by Besnard and Isidro on 11th and 12th as they begin to fight for those 3 positions. Dabrowski's not too far behind in P13. He's probably going to join the fight up there here pretty soon, as that Dodge Viper has tremendous top end speed as they go 3 wide down the straight going into the first chicane. That's actually a rare sight, as there's a little bit of contact going in, a little bit more contact between Isidro and Besnard, fighting for 11th and 12th position, literally being interchanged, but Isidro finally does secure it with that inside move. All that fighting did give Bowers a little bit of space, though, as he seems to be pulling away ever so slightly. So it is now turning into a fight between Isidro, Besnard, and Dabrowski. We're going to move down the field a little bit. G's Doc in 14th position, followed by Mystics in 15th. Then we have Fairley in 16th, Lee in 17th, White's Garage in 18th. Not sure why he's all the way down there. Camacho in 19th, and then Haley still closing out the field in P20. But it looks like we're going to have a battle of the American manufacturers there in a few minutes with Chevy and Ford. But again, as I said, Haley closing out the field in P20, very far behind. Her pace is just not matching these racers. I'm not sure what's going on there. Kudos Khalid with a ginormous gap between first and second place. But there's the signal, so I was correct. He is pitting this lap. So hopefully he formed enough of a gap, but I'm not sure if he did. Dumont coming in hot in P2. Yes, Kudos not build enough of a gap, so he will definitely lose position here. The question is, how much will he lose? So Dumont will snag first place right here. There it is. All right, so he's now in P1. Let's see if anyone else goes into the pits. It doesn't look like so. Most of the field will stay out, so Davi will secure P2, followed by Project G in P3, Vakonen P4. Rice will close out your top 5. As Saez overshoots turn 1 and loses position because of it. Going to your lower top 10, Bowers in P9, Isidro will close out the top 10 in P10. Followed by him is Besnard P11 and Dabrowski in P12. That's your upper half of the field. Crossing the gap, we have G's Doc in 13th place, Mystics 14th. Fairly tried to beat Kudos out of the pit. He might still catch up to her. Or I said that so backwards. She might catch up to him. Excuse me on that. But we'll see that in a minute. And then pretty much your bottom half of the field is the same. Going back to the front, we have some onboard footage with Dumont. We'll listen to that Mitsubishi bang gears. Absolutely incredible how these drivers just with pure precision just cut this track wide open with those extremely fast cars. And we're going to switch actually to Davi now on board with him and the GTR in P2. You can see him trying to mimic Dumont's line, which I mean, hey, if he's in P1 then obviously he's doing something right. Alright, we're going back to the wide footage here. As you see the top 5 and top 10 just speed by there. There's a little bit of gap between Violet Dragon and Bowers though, as we now switch to Bowers in P9. Only 2 laps to go here. As Bowers actually loses control a little bit. He was actually able to save it. Isidro trying to capitalize on that, but unfortunately that Lamborghini is just too fast. But I have noticed that Bowers does have a tendency to kind of drive that Lamborghini right on its line, as seen in Walkingsland when he made that first place pass over Rice there in the last like 2 laps of the race. It was absolutely incredible, but I thought for sure he was going to lose control. But anyway, as we look at the bottom half of this field, not much has changed, as there's actually a pretty considerable gap between the lower half of the field. Rice on pole position for the first time of the day, I believe, actually, with just 2 laps to go. So kind of a repeat here, because Bowers now in P2. This is literally deja vu from Watkins Glen. Rice with a huge gap, but Bowers steaming ahead, trying to catch up to him again in the last 2 laps. I believe that was the same case at Watkins Glen, so we'll see if it finishes the same. But on board with Besnard actually in P3, again the highest position that he's been in these 2 races so far this season, so he's definitely performing a lot better. As I suggested at Watkins Glen, Besnard was looking very promising, but unfortunately that first lap crash just sealed his fate for that entire race, as he just could not perform the same. But here at or in Belgium, he's definitely using it as a fresh start now that the car's repaired, and he was actually had ample time to practice this course, and it is showing in colors as he's starting to catch up to Bowers in P2. G's Doc in P4, his highest position so far. I think this season, I don't think he's been that high at Watkins Glen as the rest of the field goes by there. Behind G's Doc, we have Mystics, Davi, Dumont, Kudos, Project G, and Vakonen closing out your top 10 here, as we are getting very close to the last lap of the race, as the lower half of the field passes. Violet Dragon in 13th. Wyatt's Garage moved up a couple paces in 14th. Camacho trying to defend from Isidro, but Isidro is on this man's tail. Not sure if he's going to be able to hold him off for long. Isidro's been very promising this season so far as well. I think it's just a matter of strategy that's been holding him back from a better finish. Following behind that, though, or excuse me, actually going back to Camacho, I believe this is his highest position so far too, actually, P15. For some reason that Ford has not been performing to its expectation, but currently in roughly midfield, or a little lower than midfield actually, but so far at a higher position than he is normally at, with Isidro closely behind. Sorry, I need to get some water. I don't know why this is killing me so much more than Watkins Glen. Still trying to get used to this level of commentation, I guess. I don't even know if that's a word, but battles for 18th, 19th, 20th position between Haley, Lee, and Fairley, the lower 3 positions, which is very surprising, actually. It's kind of interesting seeing that. I'm trying not to be too rude here. It's actually, as I've mentioned before, it actually doesn't make sense why those vehicles or those teams seem to be performing so low so early on in the season. I don't know if they've just maybe not how you say, if they've not just like unlocked the potential of their vehicles, as Lee overshoots the first corner, Fairly trying to take advantage of it, but she does not. Lee closes the door again on her, and she stays in 19th position. Wyatt's Garage back down again, and literally on the subject of it, of bad strategy. That's really the only thing I can think of, is just bad strategy. I don't know why they're pitting so late into the race, and it's costing them dearly, obviously. So they definitely need to switch some things up at Honda and Chevy, and basically all the lower half of the field. Rice all alone on the lower half of this track. Ginormous gap between first and second place being Mystics, and then Davi following close behind. Kudos in 4th place. Dumont closing out your top 5 with Besnard knocking on the door in P6. Behind Besnard we have Bowers in 7th place, which is a little funny. Not sure if something happened to him. Project G in 8th place. Vakonen and McGowan, the best friends from Watkins Glen, now together closing out the top 10 in P9 and P10. Saya is not too far behind in 11th. Violent Dragon, Camacho, and Isidro doing your lower top half. And then we have White's Garage, Lee, Fairley, Haley closing out the field in P20. Rice, however, with Toyota, will get his first win of the season so far here in Belgium, as we move on to the official finish. So as mentioned, Rice will get a rather undramatic finish, but a first place finish nonetheless. So congratulations to Toyota, Mystics, Davi, Kudos. Dumont will be your top 5. Besnard with the best finish so far in P6. Bowers 7th. Project G making the top 10 for the first time in P8. Vakonen and McGowan, the best friends from Watkins Glen, will finish right behind the other in P9, P10. Sayas, Violet Dragon, Camacho, Isidro, Dabrowski. G's Doc will be your lower upper half, I guess you can say, of the field. G's Doc, okay finish for his first time racing. And then your bottom 4 will be Wyatt's Garage, Lee, Fairley, and Haley, which again, these 4 companies, I'm not sure if they're still just testing and tuning, trying to figure out their cars, but I'm definitely disappointing very early on in this season. Here are your point standings updated. Very, very promising already. We can see a trend here already. We'll see if it continues into the next race, which, speaking of which, our next race will be at the Nürburgring, one of the, if not the most challenging racetrack in the world. It will take place February 8th, and we will see if trends continue. I feel like Nürburgring will be the best track, if any, to break trends, considering how challenging this track is. So hopefully this track is able to switch some things up. Hopefully we see some drivers at the top that we normally see at the bottom, and vice versa. But either way, February 8th, hope to see you all there, and I hope you all enjoyed. Peace.